Good morning, all. I would like to welcome everyone to the 2020 South Texas Transportation Conference. We normally have it at the Victoria College Emerging Technology Complex, and unfortunately, I'm the only one here, and we're doing the very first conference in a virtual mode. This conference has been very successful throughout the year and it was initiated successfully by my predecessor, Randy Vivian, and with some massive help from Ben Galvan of Civil Corps. It's grown over the years. It's a great in-person conference, and hopefully 2021 we'll be able to continue this in person. Because 2020 is our pandemic year, we're going to have our participants and panelists, everything will be virtual for everything. And of course, with the magic of Zoom, which we all have grown to learn and love, it makes it a lot easier. Our conference today is appropriately titled, How COVID Has Impacted Current and Future Highway Projects. And that is the title of today's session 1. Session 2 will be Thursday at the same time, and session 3 will be a week from today, also at the same time at 10:30. And the fact that we're talking about highway transportation today, we have some great opening remarks, I'm sure, from State Representative Jeannie Morrison, who is a Republican in District 30 and serving her 11th term in the Texas legislature. And that district includes Aransas, Calhoun, DeWitt, Goliad, Refugio, and Victoria counties. For the 86th legislative session, Representative Morrison was appointed to chair the House Committee on Local and Consent Calendars, and additionally, she serves as a member of the House Committee on Cultural, Recreation, Tourism, and the House Committee on Environmental Regulations, a committee she has chaired during the 84th legislative session. During the interim, Representative Morrison was appointed to the Select Committee on Mass Violence Prevention and Community Safety. For the 85th legislative session, she was appointed to chair the House Committee on Transportation and serve as a member of the Higher Education Committee and the Select Committee on Ports, Innovations, and Infrastructure. Representative Morrison has received numerous awards and has been recognized by many organizations for her service to her community in the state of Texas. Jeannie Morrison is a friend to all of Texas, and particularly a friend to us here in Victoria and South Texas. And it's my pleasure to introduce Representative Jeannie Morrison.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning and welcome to the 7th Annual South Texas Transportation Conference. Thank you to the Victoria Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event and for inviting me to make opening remarks. This year's theme is Transportation in a COVID-19 Environment. As we all have had to adjust to a new normal, which we are ready to not be in the COVID pandemic anymore. The theme of this conference will help us to understand what the adjustments have meant for the transportation in South Texas. Over the course of the conference, you will participate in 3 sessions: a discussion with TxDOT on current and future projects, a discussion on Texas Central, which is the high-speed rail, and also a discussion on the exciting news in the Victoria regarding SkyWest airline and the future of air travel. As you will hear throughout the conference, the transportation industry has had to adapt to new safety requirements and work environments regarding COVID-19. As we prepare for the upcoming 87th legislative session, transportation projects usually revolve around funding and finances. According to the comptroller, the revised certification revenue estimate, the CRE, is that the state will have $110.19 billion available for general purpose spending in the 2021 biennium, which ends on August 31st, 2021. That's a 0.8% less than the 2018-19 and down 11.57 billion or 9.5% from the agency's October 2019 CRE. As Comptroller Hager said, any revenue forecast made an unprecedented amount of uncertainty. So we really won't know what we have to spend until later, close to March, when the comptroller certifies what we have to spend. We will not know for certain until we get closer to session, when the comptroller will release the biennial revenue estimate. However, the conversations during this conference will help project what the needs are and a roadmap of how to get there. There is a lot of transportation activity across South Texas, and I look forward to hearing more about current and future projects. Thank you all for participating in the discussion. Thank you to the speakers, and thank you to the sponsors for making this 7th conference a priority. Please enjoy the conference the rest of the day and the other 2 days that are coming up for the sessions. Thank you.
We'll now go to Ben Galvan, who is the chairman of the Transportation Committee, and also with Civil Corps, who is the title sponsor of the South Texas Transportation Conference for 2020. Ben Galvan.
Thank you, Jeff. And also thank you, Representative Morrison. We appreciate your support this year and all the years that you have supported our conference. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us through this new format. I'm Ben Galvan. I'm the chairman of the Transportation Committee for the Victoria Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also the president of Civil Corps, and we're proud to be the presenting sponsor of this conference since it started a few years ago. This is our 7th annual transportation conference, and though we would much rather have it in person, we're making this happen the 2020 way. And that's why we chose our theme this year for this year's conference, Transportation in a COVID Environment. I'd like to take this time to thank our sponsors for this event. Our Freeway sponsors, we want to thank Invista, HEB, the Port of Victoria, Clean Core International. Our rail sponsors, Stantec, Rexco, BGE, Civil Tech, Volkert, Hunter Industries, and Wells Fargo Advisors. And our air and waterway sponsors are Michael Baker, Brandon Paving, Doucette and Associates, Prosperity Bank, and Fries and Nichols. Thank you all for your support. And for our Texas PEs, I'd also like to mention that we do have CEUs that are available for all sessions. So if you'd like a form, please email the chamber, or you can email me and we'll send you the form for your CEUs. So now I would like to turn this over to Michael Brzezowski. Michael is the area engineer for TxDOT out of the Victoria area office, and he's also a member of our Transportation Committee. Michael will introduce today's speaker.
All right, good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Michael Brzezowski, and I get the pleasure of introducing our first presenter for the 2020 South Texas Transportation Conference. Paul Wrights was born and raised in Goliad, Texas, and currently resides in Goliad with his family. Paul is a 1995 graduate from Texas A&M University, where he received his bachelor's degree in civil engineering. Paul has been employed by the Texas Department of Transportation for approximately 26 years. Paul has held job titles of Transportation Engineer in the Victoria Area Office, Area Engineer for the Karn City Area Office, a Project Advisor in Austin, the Director of Transportation Planning and Development in the Yoakum District, and currently serves as a Yoakum District Engineer. Paul has been in his current position for approximately 5 years. In his role, he is responsible for all construction and maintenance operations in the 11 County District. For anyone unfamiliar with the Yoakum District, the district extends from Victoria County on the southern end to Austin and Fayette counties being the northern border, and Matagorda County west to Gonzales County. Please help me welcome Paul Wrights.
Good morning. Hopefully we got everything unmuted and ready to go. Appreciate the opportunity to visit with y'all and talk today. wanted to thank for y'all for having the opportunity. So if we can go ahead and start the slide presentation. And you know, with TxDOT and our theme, we couldn't really start a presentation without some safety involved in it. So kind of go over it and you see these numbers and dates and everything here, kind of explain to you what these are. That 3,622 were the fatalities on Texas roadway in 2019, which fortunately we are on a downward trend. There's been a little reduction in them, so we are making some headway there. There was 157 of those were in our work zone fatalities. And that date, November 7th of 2000, it was the last deathless day on Texas roadways. So we've got that anniversary date coming up here in November 7th. So we're starting our campaign and starting to push this campaign pretty hard, trying to accomplish a deathless day in Texas. But it'd been over 20 years since we've had one now, if we make it to November 7th. And on average, we'll have probably 10 fatalities per day. So we've got to do our part to try to end this streak. Next slide. So, and that's the hashtag end the streak is what the campaign that TxDOT's been pushing for. And like I say, unfortunately, we haven't had a deathless day since November 7th of 2000. The commission has allocated a certain amount of funds to try to help this program and try to get us to be able to accomplish our goal and get to this program. Next slide. The goal on this hashtag end the streak Texas is to have zero fatalities by the year 2050. So we've got to have everyone do their part. And that's part of this campaign, of just trying to put it out there that if we do these small things, it'll help out. You know, it's as far as no texting while driving, eliminate distracted driving, eliminating driving under the influence, reduce our speeding. Just a small fact on that, you know, COVID has reduced the number of cars on highways. You know, we're seeing that the traveling is a lot less, so the capacity of the highways has gotten better because there's a lot less people on. But what we're seeing is that the number of crashes haven't reduced. I think what's happening is they're seeing that the speeding is actually attributing to most of the accidents now. I guess the highway is a little more open, so people can run a little bit faster. So it's kind of unique fact that we thought the numbers would have went down due to the less traveling, but they haven't reduced at all. And then since 2010, if looking at all our data and keeping track of everything, so it's attainable. We're getting very close. We just got to push this campaign and try to keep going and see what we can do to try to end this goal. So just had to have some safety onto our presentation. The next slide. One of the COVID impacts as a kind of the title of this day, I guess, was about how the COVID impacts our transportation system and how it impacts everything. I'm going to go through and kind of read through some of the stuff that we're trying to get out, the message we're getting out about the COVID effects with TxDOT. So the effects of COVID-19 have had an immediate and significant impact on the state's revenues and the overall economy. This year, budgetary adjustments have seen various levels of decrease in some of the TxDOT's major sources of revenue, such as the taxes on motor fuels, oil and gas production, and motor vehicle sales. It understood that downward adjustments may be necessary during the current and upcoming biennium based on future forecasts of projected revenue. Fortunately, due to recent legislative actions during the 86th legislature, TxDOT was granted greater flexibility to adjust funding within its project development and delivery budget strategies that will allow TxDOT to react to unexpected budget constraints more quickly. TxDOT remains confident that it will be able to maintain its continued role in bolstering the state economy by creating jobs, facilitating trade, and supporting Texas businesses. TxDOT has also committed to identifying cost savings to maximize funding and ensure all possible funds are applied to Texas roadways. Due to TxDOT's effectiveness in managing projects and maximizing funding, there are no expected disruptions to active projects. New project starts could be pushed to later years depending on the level of revenue reductions. With any revenue impact, TxDOT will fully assess future plans and adjust accordingly. TxDOT remains committed to meeting the state's transportation needs and ensuring current projects move forward as soon as funding will allow. Even with the challenges associated with COVID-19, TxDOT is executing on many projects around the state. In fact, TxDOT has more than $24 billion currently under contract for construction and maintenance. Our employees and partners continue to do their part to fulfill our mission of connecting you with Texas. So that's kind of a pretty good account of what's going to happen to some and what we'll have to do for this COVID. As far as Yoakum District, we've made some changes. And some of those are going to be in scheduling projects. Some of those are in the way we work and the way we get things done. TxDOT overall has developed what we call our playbook, which is kind of a guide on what you can and can't do, trying to reduce the impacts of COVID within the workplace. It was one of those where we get a call on a Friday, and if you're I say non-essential employee, but if you weren't a maintenance employee that worked on a roadway or working on a construction job, they wanted you working from home on Monday. So it was a big change. And it was something that our employees, we got to thank them for. Everybody made that change, was willing to do it. And we've done it without missing any deadlines. And that's huge. So it was a challenge that we took on, and I think we've done a very good job with it. One of the biggest challenges was our public meetings. Now we're holding virtual public meetings. So getting approval through our administration, FHWA, to be able to hold the public meetings to where it didn't impact our project deadlines was a big goal. And there's been several of them held around the state. We've had several public involvement meetings here within the district, and they've been very successful. So these, as I said earlier, these Zoom meetings, they work very well. There's technical difficulties off and on with them, but they do work well. So we've been lucky. I'm going to highlight, some of our major projects a little later on. And one thing you'll have to remember, as stated earlier in this, that these bid dates that I call are very preliminary. And there is going to be some changes throughout this year on projects. But fortunately, like I said, they said all our construction projects and projects that are currently going on are still moving forward. We don't have any impacts to those. The only impacts will be on some of that are getting developed. And maybe the bid dates are going to be a little bit later. We'll have to push them into another year. Next slide. So kind of going through, I wanted to give a kind of a more of a high level description of how our funding works. And then you'll kind of understand how it can be impacted by the COVID and how things will change. So our big plan, our 10-year plan that we put together is called the Unified Transportation Program. We approve one. I say we, the commission approves one every year, and by August is when we try to get these approved. So I'll kind of go through some explanations of what this Unified Transportation Program is and the steps we go through to get some of that approved. Next slide. As a reminder, that the UTP is not a strict budget, nor is it a guarantee that projects on that list will be built, but is used to guide transportation project development over a 10-year time frame. We base the plan on a forecast of potential transportation revenue that may be available over the next 10 years. Next slide. What is a Unified Transportation Program? To be a bit more specific, UTP is TxDOT's 10-year plan that guides the development of transportation projects across the state, determines how much funding the state may be able to apply, and how to distribute it over 12 funding categories to apply to construction costs of transportation projects around the state. Our full UTP development cycle is 1 year and required by the end of each fiscal year, though there have been occasions including updates during the annual cycle. The next slide. As you can see, the stages of development include many steps. They include coordination with multiple stakeholders, the commission, our districts, planning partners, and also public through the public meeting. Usually by February, we try to have a list of projects that are presented to the commission for review. And review and public comment will take several months, and they will go through some different iterations and different budgetary constraints to where we get to our August 31st, where we try to get that UTP approved, commission approves it, and then we can move forward with the projects to get our final update on them. The next slide. The plan we are presenting is based on a financial forecast that we received in the fall of last year. This graphic here will show some of the key steps that are time consuming and must happen subsequent to us receiving that forecast. We saw the beginnings of the effect of COVID-19 in the state in mid-March. It will take some time into the next fiscal year for our finance division to assess the potential impacts to the UTP. The UTP approved in August of this year had a total dollar amount of just a little over $74 billion. So this last UTP that we approved really does not show any of the impacts to COVID. We're still based on our goal of about a little over 74 billion over a 10-year plan is what we plan on doing. The next slide. I want to highlight that we began the 2022 UTP development process in September. And when we receive a new financial forecast, it will have considered in-depth fiscal impacts of that COVID. And our planning for the 2022 UTP will apply to that new forecast. Also, I want to highlight that there is a lag effect of legislation on the UTP. With the next legislative session beginning in January, the timing is such that we must accommodate legislative changes that affect our planning in the subsequent cycle of the UTP. So this looking at this chart here, it tells, like I say, it is a complicated process to get through, but it's been done, and we've had a lot of success getting it approved in August. But the 2022 UTP is probably going to show more of the effects of the COVID and how it's impacted our projects. That'll show and show what the true impact is as far as the dollar amounts. The next slide. One more slide. There we go. There we go. This is kind of how we manage our projects. A little diagram showing it. We aim to constrain the number of projects and their total estimated construction cost, not development cost, to the planning forecast. At the same time, we want to make sure we have enough projects in development to be ready for construction as transportation funding becomes available. We have multiple means at our disposal for adjusting to changing fiscal and other conditions. You visualize the project development process as a vertical hopper into which we feed projects for potential funding, which that's our planning authority. We can adjust the volume or speed of projects that move through this process in 3 key ways. Each year we work on a new UTP. We add one outer year and we will have completed the most recent year. We can increase or reduce the volume of projects that enter the UTP, which is that upper valve. So as we bring to look at the 2022 UTP, we can consider fewer new projects. Each month we can speed up or slow down the volume of projects that are let, but we go out for bids. That's the lower valve. This will be determined based on actual cash flow. If further adjustments are necessary, we can remove lower priority projects from the UTP. Next slide. When the 2021 UTP was approved, it authorizes basically the total dollar amount available, how the total is distributed around the state and by what category, and then funding on specific mobility projects, which out of those 12 categories would be category 2, 4, and 12. Next slide. Any changes to future forecasts given the current situation will be assessed and addressed with the development of the 2022 UTP that began in September. This table here will break down and show what our 12 categories of funding, which basically from the top starts with our preventive maintenance and rehab, which is a lot of your overlay type seal coat projects. And then it goes down to the category 2, which is your metro and urban corridor funding. It breaks down to bridges. We have certain funding for safety. It breaks down to 12 categories of our funding, and there it is, little over the total. This last UTP was a little over $74 billion. And our expectations are that 2022 will be reduced. Still no idea what it will be reduced to, but it will be a lower number for our next 10-year plan that gets approved. Next slide. This graphic summarizes how projects are scored and ranked the project funding request based on a combination of statewide priorities, system needs, and projected project performance. We then evaluated other elements such as project readiness, project sequencing, and statewide equity to the degree practical, and we provided those in resulting ranked order for consideration in the UTP. Trying to develop a system that will rank projects statewide based on our available data. This will be more of a systematic approach to selecting projects that receive funding. As you can see from that chart, you know, a lot of these projects, we score them based on the safety. We have some congestion, there's some connectivity, and all those receive a score. And then we put all that together, and statewide, each project will compete against each other, and the higher scoring projects will end up getting the funding. That's where we're trying to get to a more systematic approach to selecting projects. Next slide. The project details appear in tables in the draft 2021 UTP document, which is available online. This table provides a summary of projects proposed for new or additional funding from our UTP category 2, 4, and 12. These categories fund the mobility and connectivity projects and require approval from the Texas Transportation Commission. These are project-specific dollars approved by the Commission. These, like I say, is just a breakdown of some of our 12 projects here, and kind of percentage-wise on the dollars for the total. The next slide. The Category 4 connectivity regional sub-program applies to projects on the statewide connectivity corridor network outside the boundaries of the state MPOs. The 2021 UTP proposes 30 projects for new Category 4 regional funding for a total of $453 million. You'll notice that these projects are distributed around the state in rural areas that connect our cities. Just highlighting the one in Yoakum that we did receive some of this connectivity funding, and it's on a US 59 or I-69 project there in Wharton County. Next slide. Last year, there were 2 strategic initiatives approved by the Commission. First is a transfer of an additional $300 million from Category 12 to Category 8 safety to address TxDOT's new initiative to eliminate traffic fatalities in Texas by 2050, the In the Street campaign. This funding will be managed by TxDOT's Traffic Safety Division to fund targeted highway safety improvements. Second was a dedication of the remaining $235 million within Category 12 strategic priority to make energy sector road improvements in the Permian Basin region of West Texas. This relates to the Permian Basin roadway improvements highlighted on the previous slide. Next slide. Each year, when we update the UTP, 1 year drops off and another is added. So we keep in mind that there remains 9 years of planned funding and projects in addition to the new recommendations for categories 2, 4, and 12 we had just addressed. This slide shows a high-level overview of the project distribution of the entire UTP, inclusive of all the funding categories. Total funding distribution is not equally proportionate to each district's population. Some categories like 2 and 4U are formula allocated based on population, lane miles, and other factors. But statewide competitive categories like their 4, 8, and 12 are not evenly distributed since they target specific priority projects. For example, you look at Yoakum District, we ended up with a $1.6 billion, and compared to Corpus, which is right below us, and Corpus is considered a urban district, and they ended up with about the same amount of money that we did. Like I say, we had some initiatives that helped us gain some money as far as the US 59, I-69, and some of the I-10 expansion projects that we're working on. That got us up to some pretty good numbers for a rural district. Next slide. Given that the state of Texas is currently operating in a non-tolled environment, funding for certain toll projects over which the commission has approval authority has been removed from the UTP because of the potential conflict with the transportation goals of the state. Next slide. Where to find this project information? Once the projects are selected and programmed with funding in the UTP, there are several ways for members of the public to find information. The 2021 UTP contains thousands of planned transportation projects in various stages of development. TxDOT publishes a subset of these projects in the annual UTP document that will list just over 600 projects funded in categories 2, 4, and 12. All 8,000 plus projects in all 12 categories can be found on our project tracker. It's TxDOT's online project reporting system and interactive map. The picture you see with the state of Texas and all the red and different colors, that is a project tracker. A very good interactive map. You can zoom in, you can click on a roadway, it gives you project estimated timelines on where they're at, where they're going, dollar amounts, limits. It's a pretty good program that TxDOT has put together to be able to keep track, for the public to keep track of these projects and see where they're at. So in talking about those, I want to kind of go over some of the projects here that we have in Victoria, some of the highlighted projects. If you can go to the next slide. Kind of starting in Victoria County, this is a map of the Yoakum District, as Michael said earlier, where we cover from Victoria, Calhoun County all the way up to Austin and Fayette County, and then from Matagorda over to Gonzales. But starting in Victoria County, we have some pretty good projects that I think will impact the areas on Loop 463, basically from Business 59 to Lone Tree Road, which is going to add another overpass over 59 Business. And that's got about a $9 million project, and it goes to bids in December of 21. Then we have US 77, which I consider the old Loop 463 if you've been around Victoria very long, but it goes from FM 236 through the Business 59T intersection, where the Goliad interchange, down to Business 77 South. And that's going to be one we're trying to get into our frontage roads and making a 4-lane divided, to finish the 4-lane divided section over that. It's about a $35 million project, and our proposed bid date is April of 2023. And then we have a big development project on FM 236, which is like I say, for locals, I call it the Upper Mission Valley Road, but it goes from US 77 to FM 237. And just because of the amount of traffic volume on that roadway and the growth that's out there, we're trying to build a 4-lane undivided roadway with the continuous left turn lane. That's about a $30 million project, and it's proposed to bid in December of 2024. Then we have the US 59, the project that's actually going on right now in front of the TxDOT office, goes from Telfner to Loop 463, hopefully be complete probably late spring or early summer of 21 of next year. We have a huge development project. Like I say, it's probably going to be impacted on our letting date, but we're still trying to work on it and get it developed. Is on US 59, basically from Jackson County line to FM 1686 or to Telfner. That's, right now we have approximately $240 million project, and that's going to add frontage roads and try to create a freeway section. But that right now, there is no bid date on it. We're just trying to get that developed and have it ready. Moving on up, like to Wharton County, which coming out of Houston District, is taking care of a lot of that traffic. We have a project right now that's goes from Fort Bend County line to State Highway 60, just north of Wharton. We're building a 6-lane section there, and hopefully be complete with that in September of 2023. And then continuing on from that project all the way just south of the river there in Wharton to FM 961, is still building a 6-lane section, and it's about a $225 million project, and it's proposed to go out for bids in September of 2023. And then from carrying on from there, continuing on to get to El Campo, or just north of El Campo, another 6-lane freeway project that we're trying to get developed, and no proposed bid date on, but just trying to get the plans ready and have it, for any available funding. It's about a $225 million project to get you to just north of El Campo. Kind of moving, way further north in the district on our I-10. That's like I say, that's another one. We got a big piece of the UTP, the money that we got was on I-10. We had several projects that are working on right now and several under development. One of them is from Waller County line of the Brazos River to just west of Sealy. It started, and hopefully we get completed with it in August of 2022. It was a little over $280 million project, what it bid at. Then carrying on from just west of Sealy, from that project going to the Colorado-Austin County line, a little over $150 million project, and it's hopefully be completed at the same time as August of 2022. And those are, will be 3-lane, there'll be 6-lane sections, all concrete pavement, big improvement for that pieces of I-10. And then right now we're working on a section from the Colorado-Austin County line to we call Allington Road, or US 90, just west of Columbus there. It's $210 million project. Right now, it's proposed to bid in September of 2022. We're just going to see how our funding gets impacted on that project. And then continuing on from that Allington Road to just west of Columbus is another little over $200 million project, and we have it proposed bidding in July of 2023. And we have a unique project, not a lot of dollar project, but can you go to the next slide, please? It's about a $41 million project for the district, but a very unique project. And this is on FM 457 in Matagorda County. And basically right now there's an existing swing bridge that operates across the intercoastal, and we're replacing that swing bridge with a bridge going over the intercoastal. The next slide, please. These were just some pictures of it currently under construction, where it's at right now. And so it's moving along very well. And then that last slide, this is a rendering that we've done when it's completed. And then when I say unique, it is very unique. I mean, these are probably 25, 30 mile an hour design speed curves that you approach. The bottom is approaching 457 from Sargent, and you make that swing around, you go over the intercoastal, you swing around, and you tie back into basically a beach road. And very unique project for us. I think we're pretty proud of it. Like I say, the dollars it's not a real huge project, because we have there's another project update coming to you here in a few minutes, and the dollar amount he has is huge. But this is one that we like to highlight because for Yoakum District, it's pretty unique, and for the areas, I think it's going to be a unique project to have done. But in saying that, going from this bridge to, I wanted to introduce Joseph Briones, is from Corpus Christi District, Director of Construction and Project Manager for the Harbor Bridge. He wanted to kind of get an update on the Harbor Bridge. I think that's going to be a big impact to the area when that Harbor Bridge is completed. And so I got Joseph is going to follow up with me to try to give us a little update on the Harbor Bridge and kind of see where we're at and what's going on with it. So Joseph, if you're on.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
We can hear you.
All right. Hey, thanks, Paul. Thanks for that introduction. And thanks to everyone for the opportunity to update you on our US 181 Harbor Bridge project down in Corpus Christi. Over the last couple of years, we've had the opportunity to update this group. Construction has been moving forward, excuse me, since about 2016. And we've been continuing that construction in earnest since that time. And we just want to give everyone here just an update on where we're at here in 2020 and where we look to move forward into the future. Before we get into the construction update, though, we want to jump into a little bit of a project background. So can we go ahead and start the PowerPoint?
Sure thing.
It's coming, Joseph. So
Okay.
if you'll bear with us just a moment. We're having a COVID moment. Just to remind everybody, if you've got questions, go ahead and use the Q&A form at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be more than happy to pass the questions along to our presenters. Okay, Joseph, you're back on.
All right, perfect. As I mentioned, we've been here a few times. We've been under construction for quite a bit, so I know that most folks are probably familiar with our project. But just in case you're not, I'll spend a few minutes discussing the background. So if we'll go to the next slide, please. If you've been to Corpus Christi or you've been anywhere in the coastal bend, you've likely traversed our Harbor Bridge project. You've traversed the existing bridge. It's a very iconic Napoleon hat is what some people say it resembles. Steel structure built in 1959. The picture you see here, you see our Lexington there to the left of the picture. The State Aquarium is a little bit out of the picture because it's covered with the truss structure of the actual bridge. But that is our bridge. And so a couple of unique characteristics about it that you can see from this picture is that it is at the narrowest point of the Corpus Christi ship channel. It only provides a 138-foot elevation clearance envelope for ships underneath it. And off the picture on the approaches to the bridge, we've got some really sharp curves. So the geometric configuration of the bridge, built in 1959 to the design speeds and to the standards at that time, haven't really translated to where we're at in 2020. In addition to that, this bridge has 5% grades. So if you've gone up our bridge and you're behind an 18-wheeler or a fully loaded semi-truck, you'll notice they have a little bit of trouble getting up the bridge. So all those things are safety thoughts that went into the ultimate decision to replace the bridge. Additionally, as I mentioned, it's steel, and it's steel over salt water. So that's not the best environment for a steel bridge. So there are also growing maintenance costs associated with the existing structure. We do have 3 lanes in each direction for this structure. However, we do not have any shoulders. So if there's any hiccups to traffic, if there's any fender benders, there's nowhere for emergency vehicles to go up and down the bridge. There's nowhere for the potentially disabled vehicles to move over, and it clogs up the bridge pretty quickly. And again, this is on US 181, so this is a hurricane evacuation route. So some real safety issues and concerns that we're trying to address with the replacement of the project, of the bridge. Next slide, please. So to talk about another unique aspect of this project and unique to the Corpus Christi district is the delivery method. So TxDOT's bread and butter delivery method on how we develop and how we deliver our construction portfolio is really built around our design, bid, build. And these steps are sequential. This is an overly simplified summary of the 2 different delivery methods here. And so with our design, bid, build, TxDOT goes in and we develop the schematic. Paul talked about the UTP and the Development Authority. All those things happen, and they're long lead items, and they happen sequentially with each other. And then also with the schematic development, there's environmental clearance. And then we jump into PS&E, which is the actual plan development. So we take a schematic and we develop it into something that can actually be constructed. We develop the construction, we buy right away, we move utilities, and then we actually let that project into construction. And so all of these things happen sequentially and can lead to, a little bit of time to deliver our projects. Now, what we have with design build is a lot of these things happening in parallel with each other. And a lot of these things are done with one entity, and that is our design builder, or our developer. And so we get a project to a schematic level, and then we develop that project. We develop a rule book, a development agreement, technical provisions that tell the developer how we or what we want at the end of a project. It's performance-based, it's non-prescriptive. So it's really just a rule book of developer, this is what we want at the end. How you get there is really up to you. And so that gives a lot of authority to the design builder to figure out how they want to phase the project, how they want to design the project, and how they want to build the project. And the ultimate goal here is, since we're allowing all these things to happen concurrently with one entity, the goal is to overall reduce project duration. Next slide, please. So here's just some quick project facts of our bridge. This is a rendering of what our ultimate bridge will look like. Our project is a $803 million design and construction comprehensive development agreement. That cost is a little bit more now because there was some option work that was included in the original contract, and due to some third-party utility, specifically City of Corpus Christi utility adjustments that were necessary. So we're in about $870 million right now. Now, you can look at the project facts here, and I'll just say, you know, the thing that we want to always focus on is the bridge, and that's the thing that's shiny about this project. But the bridge and the costs associated with the bridge only make up 48% of our total project cost. The other 52% is in conventional TxDOT work, which is our roadways, our interchanges. We are completely rebuilding the US 181, 37, I-37, and State Highway 286 interchange. So we've got a conventional interchange project, which, you know, we're really familiar with, and then we have this complex signature bridge as well. And so a couple of things that we like to point to, the main span here is 1,661 feet, or will be 1,661 feet. That completely spans the Corpus Christi ship channel at an area that's wider than the current bridge itself. The main tower heights are 538 feet, so they will be the two tallest structures south of San Antonio when they are built. And then the clearance envelope underneath the bridge provides 205 foot of clearance versus the 138 foot provided by our current existing bridge right now. Another unique thing that the developer brought to the table with their proposal was a 170-year design life for the concrete of the superstructure. So the old bridge, the existing bridge, is a steel structure. This new bridge will be a completely concrete structure, which will help with the maintenance and the durability of this structure moving into the future, being in the saltwater environment. It will also have LED lighting. The LED lights will be multicolored. And then we have a shared use path that will go from the south side to the north side of the bridge. It is on the northbound lanes, and a round trip on the shared use path will cost your legs about 5 miles. So a pretty unique project, pretty unique bridge, and something that's really going to change the skyline of Corpus Christi. And to give you an idea of the different scale and the skyline that it's going to change, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. And this is just a scale perspective of new bridge versus old bridge. The existing bridge, the steel structured bridge, will nearly fit under the new bridge there. So that if you're visiting Corpus Christi, and I'll show you some pictures here of where we're at status-wise on construction, but you can really see where the alignment is now, and you can really get an idea of how much bigger and taller this new bridge will be compared to our existing bridge. Next slide, please. So alignment, where are we in Corpus Christi? We are nearly downtown. From the previous pictures, you could see the Lexington and the aquarium. But also we're at the heart of one of the biggest interchanges in Corpus Christi, which is our Interstate 37, State Highway 286, and our US 181 of roadways. The existing bridge there is to the bottom of your page, crossing the ship channel. North is to the right. And the red line that you see there on the slide is the brand new alignment of what our new freeway or highway and bridge facility will be. So next slide, please. So we talked about the interchange, and this interchange and the associated roadwork improvements to tie into this new interchange make up the majority of the work for this project, which is about 52%. And downtown Corpus Christi is to the top right of your page. North is up on your page here. And so the new interchange allows free-flowing traffic, in any direction here. So we're going to be building two new brand new loop ramps, which will connect you north and south on 181, 286, and 37. And then we have a pretty good network of direct connectors to get you through this interchange in the middle of Corpus Christi. Now, we talked about construction, and one of the most complicated things that we've dealt with on this project, and not to detract from the complex nature of the bridge, but it's actually the traffic control of building an interchange in an active interchange. And so every day, traffic expects you to maintain the level of service and the connectivity through construction, and that's been very challenging for us. And we're managing, and I think we're doing a really good job. And so traffic control is one of the biggest challenges on this project. The other challenges that came as part of this interchange design was the rebuilding of Leopard Street. If you're familiar with Corpus Christi, Leopard Street runs parallel to 37 and actually provided that connectivity that 37 provides prior to 37 being built. It is an old State Spur 407. So it's an old state facility that's been given over to the city of Corpus Christi, but it still is a large generator of traffic. And the developer's proposal changed the elevation of Leopard Street. So Leopard Street used to be at grade. It will now be elevated over to 86. And so that's something that has to be worked into the traffic control as well. So now let's look into the actual construction and where we're at. So next slide, please. So this is the north side of the project. We are facing north, looking at Nueces Bay there. At the bottom of the page is the North Main Span Foundation, and that is where we're at in construction right now. We are nearly to what we call the tower table or the nodal section of that main span tower. And then moving to the north and elevation down is the actual north approach. And the far right is probably hard to see, but in yellow there is our 540-foot gantry. And the last time I was here, I showed everyone what that gantry did. It's really a massive steel structure that allows the developer to erect an entire section or span of segments simultaneously, and then it crawls to the next span. And so we've erected all the north approach segments with that gantry, and that gantry is currently being relocated to the south approach. Next slide, please. So here we are on the south side of the project. We are actually looking south in this picture, and that is the south main span foundation columns there. Again, we're at about the same level as the north side, which is at our nodal zone or at our tower table. And you can see off to the right and headed up towards the picture is the south approach. Now, the south approach is in various levels of construction, but the substructure is getting pretty close to complete. We are about done with our columns, and we are wrapping up a bunch of the caps, and we will start the erection of the south approaches very, very soon once that gantry gets assembled. Whataburger Field is off to your left here to orient you with where we're at on construction. Next slide, please. So this is looking north, and so the north side of the project is at the top of the picture. The old Harbor Bridge is top right, and what we've done is we've backed to the south now, looking from the heart of the interchange north. And so the rendering I showed of the interchange, this is, you know, where all the business is going to take place. We're looking at a couple of direct connectors here, again, in various stages of construction. We've got a major outfall channel to the left there. And then also another unique thing on this project is we have some precast arch bridges, and you can see those off to the left as well. Those have been installed across the outfall, and they're actually pretty neat. They got done pretty quickly because they were precast bridges. And then swinging around from the right side of your page, headed to the north, is the shared use path. And that's the shared use path that'll take you across the bridge and to the North Beach area of Corpus Christi. Next slide. So again, here's the interchange. This picture is pretty busy, and rightfully so. Again, we're building an interchange in an active interchange, and we're maintaining all the traffic movements through it. So it is really busy, and the developer is working in little pockets where they can, and then we're moving traffic around so that we can continue to progress construction. And you can see there's a bunch of direct connectors, there's a bunch of brand new bridge structure, and then there's also brand new main lane and frontage work all taking place simultaneously here in the heart of this interchange. Next slide. And so, you know, pulling back and looking at those pictures, what do the numbers tell us? Where are we at percent complete on the project, and where did we come from, and how did we get here? So it was about January 2016 that the project received the record of decision from Federal Highway. So we got that ROD, and then we went to construction as quickly as possible after that. And so we commenced construction in late 2016 and really pushed forward with construction in 2017, and we've been working ever since. And so progress-wise, our interchange construction is about 65% complete. Our north approach, where we are relocating the gantry from, is about 80% complete. Our south approach, which is where the gantry will start working, I would say in the next couple of weeks, is about 50% complete. And then our main span bridge is about 40% complete. Now that concludes my update for the project. Next slide is any questions or comments. I think we're doing that in the chat box. Again, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the opportunity to provide this update to the group.
Thank you very much, Joseph. We do have a question, and most likely it's directed towards Paul. And has COVID-19 brought about increases in material costs for TxDOT projects?
I mean, we haven't seen. I mean, just because of material costs in general have gone up, but I'm not aware of anything due to COVID. I couldn't really put a number on that. Like I say, I know material costs have gone up just in general because everything has gone up a little bit. But as far as I know right now, we haven't seen an increase in it just due to COVID.
Question for Joseph. You had said that the structure is one of the tallest structures, or the tallest structure south of San Antonio. What kind of structure are you referring to?
I'm referring to the height, the top of the tower of the main span cable stay columns. So they reach to a height of 538 feet. And there are no buildings or structures that we are aware of south of the San Antonio, I guess it's hemisphere, that are taller than that here in South Texas. The tallest building in Corpus Christi is about 410 feet. So we'll be a few stories taller than that tallest building here in Corpus Christi.
Okay, very good. Thank you for the answer there. We have another question. I believe it is for you, Joseph, is when is it projected, your project, to be completed?
So we're working with the developer right now on developing a new baseline schedule for the project. We've had some issues that we're working through with the main span and trying to make sure that what we deliver is the best for TxDOT. So we're working through that baseline schedule with the developer right now. We've put out a couple of releases out to the public on what that anticipated schedule may be. We don't have a date to give at this time. We think that we'll have one over the next couple of months as that baseline schedule is wrapping up and the talks with the developer are also wrapping up. So when we have that date available, there will be a press release and we'll get that out to the public.
Okay, thank you very much. Ben, do you have any questions that you would like to address at this point?
Oh, there's the unmute. I think the couple of questions I had, Joseph, you've answered, and Paul, you've talked about the COVID impact to cost. I don't see any other questions in the chat box. We'll just give it a few more moments and see if anything pops up. Joseph, let me just ask you, Joseph. You had you commented that that traffic was a major challenge on the Harbor Bridge, and in particular around the interchange. Has there been any other major challenges that you weren't expecting that have popped up?
Yeah, Ben, and I'll go ahead and probably there's a couple of questions that people aren't typing into the chat box, and I'll address. But as everyone is probably aware, TxDOT made a decision last October to replace the engineer of record for the main span bridge. And so beyond the traffic, dealing with the logistics to bring a new engineer of record on board has probably been the next most challenging thing for the project. But again, our number one goal and with making that change was to deliver a safe project for the citizens of Texas.
Okay, thank you very much. And we're looking forward to the project and the progress and completion. So we really appreciate you giving us an update yearly on this project. We look forward to hearing how it continues and progresses. So thank you again. Paul, also, we want to thank you for your participation. You've always been a big supporter of our conference, and we appreciate everything you've been doing for us.
And I would also like to thank all the sponsors and our speakers and Representative Jeannie Morrison for being in here with us today on this very first session that we've had virtually, but we have two more sessions. The next one is Thursday. Will be at the same time. It's the Texas Central High-Speed Railway, how COVID will be impacting this project itself. Travis Kelly, the Vice President of Governmental Relations, will be speaking on that. We'll have opening remarks by United States Congressman Michael Cloud. I would like to thank again our speakers and our presenters and those who attended with us today. And I would like to also thank Josh Garrett of Josh Garrett Videos for facilitating this meeting very successfully. And we will be hoping to see all of you. A new link will be sent out for the Thursday session, so be watching for it. So now you can go wash your hands, go vote, and go wash your hands again. Have a good day.
Thank you all.